The mind is everything. What you think you become. Buddhist teachings often revolve around the power of the mind and its role in shaping reality. In this quote, he emphasizes that our thoughts are not just fleeting or inconsequential. They have the power to shape our character, actions, and, ultimately, our destiny. It suggests that our internal world of thoughts dictates our external world of experiences. If a person consistently harbors negative thoughts, such as doubt, fear, or hatred, those thoughts manifest in their life as limiting beliefs, unhappiness, and suffering. Conversely, when the mind is filled with positive, compassionate, and wise thoughts, one's actions and reality align with these values, bringing happiness, peace, and fulfillment. Buddha recognized that by mastering the mind, a person can master their life. The mind is both the source of bondage and liberation. It is through awareness, mindfulness, and a disciplined mind that one can control their thoughts, direct their actions, and create a life that is in harmony with their higher self and purpose. Your thoughts shape your reality. Negative thoughts breed negative outcomes, while positive, constructive thoughts lead to positive growth. Mind as the root of suffering and happiness. The way we think determines how we perceive the world, and those perceptions shape our experiences. Mastery over the mind is mastery over life. Controlling our thoughts allows us to control our actions, habits, and ultimately, the course of our lives. There was a small village nestled between tall mountains and lush forests, a place where the simple rhythms of nature intertwined with the lives of the people. In this village lived a young man named Anand. Though he was hard-working and kind-hearted, Anand was perpetually weighed down by a deep sense of inadequacy and frustration. He believed that no matter how hard he tried, life circumstances conspired against him. Anand worked as a stonecutter, carving blocks of stone to create sculptures for the village temples. His hands were calloused, his back bent from years of toil. Yet, despite his labor, his work never seemed to match the beauty and grace of the other artisans' creations. His sculptures were often clumsy, lacking the fine details that drew admiration from the villagers. Why can't I succeed like others, he would often wonder. Perhaps I am simply destined to fail. These thoughts gnawed at Anand day and night. Each time he sat before a fresh block of stone, his mind was clouded with self-doubt and frustration. His chisel would tremble in his hands, and he would make mistakes, ruining the block. He cursed his luck, his skills, and even the gods for his misfortune. One day, while delivering a sculpture to the village temple, Anand saw a group of monks gathered around an elderly teacher in saffron robes. This teacher was none other than the wise monk Gautama, known as Buddha. His presence was calm and serene, drawing people toward him like a warm flame in the cold. Curious and desperate for answers, Anand decided to approach the Buddha. As the crowd dispersed, Anand stood before the monk, bowed respectfully, and spoke. "Great teacher, I have worked as a stonecutter for many years, yet my hands fail me. My sculptures are crude, and no matter how hard I try, I cannot match the skill of the others. Why has fate cursed me in this way?" Buddha listened patiently, his calm eyes studying Anand for a moment before he spoke softly. "Tell me, Anand, what do you think when you begin to sculpt a block of stone?" Anand thought for a moment and replied, "I think of all the ways I might fail. I worry that my hands will slip, that I'll make mistakes, that the stone will break under my chisel. I see the flaws before I even begin." Buddha nodded and asked another question. "And when you think these thoughts, how do you feel?" "I feel anxious, frustrated, and angry," Anand admitted. "It feels like there is no hope. I am defeated before I even begin." Buddha smiled gently. "Anand, your mind is like the chisel in your hand. Just as you use the chisel to shape the stone, you use your thoughts to shape your life. If your thoughts are full of doubt and failure, how can your work or your life be anything but flawed?" Anand looked puzzled. "But how can I change my thoughts? They come to me on their own. I do not choose to think this way." "The mind is everything, Anand," Buddha said. "What you think, you become. If you fill your mind with doubt, you will become the very embodiment of doubt. But if you fill your mind with thoughts of possibility, patience, and determination, then those will be the qualities you carve into your life." Anand was silent for a moment, absorbing the wisdom of Buddha's words. The simplicity of the idea seemed too profound to grasp fully. But how can I control my thoughts, teacher? They seem to arise on their own, like birds in the sky. Buddha nodded. Indeed, thoughts come and go, just as birds fly across the sky. But you can choose which ones you focus on. You cannot stop a bird from flying overhead, but you can stop it from building a nest in your hair. In the same way, you cannot stop every negative thought, but you can choose whether to dwell on it or let it pass. Buddha paused for a moment, then continued, Consider this. When you see a block of stone, what do you see? Anand hesitated. I see a heavy, unyielding block of stone, difficult to shape. Buddha's eyes twinkled. And that is where your problem lies. A great sculptor does not see a block of stone. He sees the statue hidden within it. His task is not to create something from nothing, but to reveal what is already there. In the same way, your true potential is already within you. It is your task to remove the thoughts and doubts that obscure it. Anand felt a shift within him. For the first time, he realized that his mind had been shaping his experience more than his hands ever had. He bowed deeply before Buddha. Thank you, great teacher. I will remember your words. Buddha smiled, but before Anand could leave, he added one last piece of advice. Remember, Anand, changing your mind is like sculpting a stone. It takes patience and persistence. Do not expect perfection at once. Each time you catch yourself in doubt, gently return your thoughts to possibility. Each moment is an opportunity to choose the direction of your life. In the weeks that followed, Anand returned to his workshop with a newfound determination. He still faced the same blocks of stone, but his approach was different. He began to see the potential in each block, imagining the finished statue before his chisel even touched the surface. At first, the old doubts crept back. He would catch himself thinking, what if I make a mistake? But now, instead of giving in to those thoughts, Anand would pause, take a deep breath, and remind himself, the mind is everything. What I think, I become. Slowly but surely, his sculptures began to improve. His hands became steadier, his eyes sharper. The forms that emerged from the stone were no longer crude and unfinished. They were graceful, full of life and detail. The villagers noticed the change in Anand's work. People began to speak of his sculptures with admiration. Some even said that his figures had a spiritual quality, as if they carried the very essence of peace and possibility within them. One day, as Anand sat chiseling a statue for the temple, he found himself completely absorbed in his work. His mind was calm, focused, and free of doubt. He no longer worried about making mistakes. He was simply present in the moment, allowing the beauty of the statue to reveal itself. As he worked, Anand realized something profound. The statue was not just a reflection of his improved skill, it was a reflection of his transformed mind. By changing his thoughts, he had not only changed his sculptures, he had changed his entire life. Years later, Anand became known as one of the finest sculptors in the region. But more than that, he became known for his wisdom and inner peace. Whenever young artisans came to him for advice, he would share with them the lesson he had learned from Buddha so many years ago. The mind is everything, he would say. What you think, you become. And so, Anand's life became a living testament to this truth. Through patience, mindfulness, and the mastery of his thoughts, he had sculpted not only stone but his own destiny, revealing the beauty and potential that had always been hidden within. In this story, Anand's journey mirrors the lesson of the quote, that our thoughts shape our reality. By changing the way he thought about his work and his life, he transformed both. Just as a sculptor reveals the form within the stone, we can reveal our true potential by removing the layers of doubt and negativity that obscure it. Through mindfulness and the mastery of our thoughts, we can shape our own destiny, becoming the person we were always meant to be. As Anand's skill grew, so did his reputation. Sculptors from neighboring villages sought him out, eager to learn the secret behind his transformation. But Anand was no longer concerned with fame or recognition. His focus had shifted inward, where he realized the true sculpture was not the stone, but himself. Every morning, before picking up his chisel, Anand would meditate, recalling Buddha's words, "What you think, you become." He no longer saw meditation as an abstract practice meant for monks alone, but as a tool to sharpen the mind, much like his chisel sharpened the stone. In the quiet of his workshop, surrounded by unfinished statues, he would sit in stillness, allowing his thoughts to settle, like dust in the breeze. In time, his meditation deepened. He noticed that not only did his negative thoughts lose their power over him, but new, more constructive ideas began to arise. He felt creative energy flowing through him, visions of statues yet to be carved forming effortlessly in his mind. When he began his work, there was no longer any sense of struggle. He no longer battled with the stone. Instead, he felt in harmony with it. As though the statue inside was guiding his hands, Anand's life became a clear reflection of Buddha's teaching. The transformation in his work was mirrored in his relationships, his health, and his sense of fulfillment. Whereas before, he would get easily frustrated with others, now he approached every interaction with patience and compassion. When his fellow villagers gossiped or criticized, instead of taking it personally or reacting defensively, he would smile inwardly and remind himself that those thoughts were not his to own. Slowly, the villagers began to change as well. His quiet, peaceful demeanor had a ripple effect on those around him. People came to him not only for his sculptures but for his advice on life. They asked him questions about how to deal with their own frustrations, their own doubts. And each time, Anand would offer the same wisdom that Buddha had shared with him. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. He explained that the world outside was a mirror of the world within. When we think thoughts of anger, frustration, and fear, we see those emotions reflected in our experiences. But when we think thoughts of kindness, patience, and possibility, the world responds with opportunities for growth and joy. As Anand's spiritual and practical mastery deepened, he felt a growing urge to travel beyond his village and learn from other teachers. He knew that while his understanding of the mind had grown, there was still much more to learn. The world was vast, and every journey, he believed, would be an opportunity to test and refine Buddha's teaching in new ways. So, with a small pack of essentials and his chisel in hand, Anand set off on a pilgrimage to visit the renowned masters of the land. His journey took him to monasteries high in the mountains, where monks spent their lives in contemplation, and to bustling cities where philosophers and scholars debated the mysteries of existence. In the highlands, Anand met a reclusive monk named Vimal. Vimal was known for his mastery of concentration and could sit for hours without moving, his mind completely still. Anand asked Vimal how he had achieved such mastery, and the monk replied, "The key is understanding the nature of thoughts. They are like clouds, constantly shifting and changing, but they are not the sky. The mind is the sky, vast, clear, and unaffected by the clouds. Do not get caught in the clouds. Simply observe them, and they will pass." Anand practiced this lesson diligently. Whenever negative thoughts arose, instead of engaging with them or trying to push them away, he would observe them like passing clouds, allowing them to dissipate on their own. This practice deepened his ability to remain centered and calm, no matter the circumstances. Later, in a bustling marketplace, Anand met a scholar named Aruna, who spoke about the power of words. "Words are the expressions of thoughts," Aruna said. "Just as a sculptor shapes stone into a statue, a person shapes their reality through words. Be mindful of what you say, for your words reflect the contents of your mind and shape the world around you." Anand pondered Aruna's words and realized how often people spoke carelessly, using words of self-doubt, anger, or fear. He decided to become even more mindful of his speech, ensuring that his words were aligned with the positive, constructive thoughts he now cultivated. He noticed that when he spoke with clarity and kindness, his relationships deepened and became more harmonious, testing the power of thought in adversity. However, Anand's greatest challenge came when he returned to his village. A neighboring kingdom had begun to encroach upon the village's borders, seeking to seize its fertile lands for themselves. Tensions rose, and the villagers grew fearful of an impending invasion. Some argued for immediate resistance, while others wanted to flee. Fear and anger spread like wildfire, through the once peaceful village. Anand, too, felt the pull of fear. His thoughts wavered. What if the invaders destroy everything? What if they harm the people I love? But then, he remembered Buddha's teaching and the lessons he had learned on his journey. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Rather than succumbing to panic, Anand sat in meditation, focusing on cultivating thoughts of peace and resolution. He reminded himself that his thoughts shaped his reality. If he allowed fear to control him, it would only lead to more fear and chaos. But if he could remain calm and focused, he could inspire others to do the same. After his meditation, Anand called a meeting of the villagers. He spoke to them about the power of the mind, reminding them that while they could not control the actions of the invaders, they could control their own thoughts and actions. If we act out of fear, he said, we will create a future ruled by fear. But if we act with courage, wisdom, and unity, we can shape our own destiny. Inspired by his words, the villagers began to calm down. They decided to send a delegation to the neighboring kingdom, offering a peaceful resolution to the conflict. Through negotiation, they were able to reach an agreement that preserved the village's land and ensured the safety of its people. The crisis had passed, and the village was spared from destruction, not through violence, but through the power of calm and focused thought. Anand realized that this was the ultimate test of Buddha's teaching. In the face of adversity, the mind could still shape reality, and with the right thoughts, even the most daunting challenges could be overcome. Anand's final masterpiece, the Statue of Inner Peace. As the years passed, Anand's reputation as a wise and skillful sculptor spread far and wide. Kings and merchants, monks and villagers alike, sought his works, not only for their beauty, but for the sense of peace and serenity they radiated. But for Anand, the greatest masterpiece he ever created was not made of stone. It was the peaceful and fulfilled life he had sculpted for himself. One day, the elders of his village came to Anand with a special request. They wanted him to create a statue of Buddha, one that would serve as a symbol of the village's spiritual foundation and a reminder of the power of the mind. Anand accepted the task, knowing that this would be the culmination of everything he had learned. For months, Anand worked tirelessly, chiseling away at a massive block of marble. Each strike of the chisel was guided by the same mindfulness that had transformed his life. As he worked, he reflected on Buddha's teaching. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. He realized that just as he was shaping the statue, his thoughts had shaped his entire journey. When the statue was finally complete, it stood as a symbol of perfect inner peace. The figure of Buddha was serene, with a gentle smile and eyes that seemed to gaze inward, as if contemplating the vast, boundless nature of the mind. The villagers who saw it were moved, not only by its beauty, but by the profound sense of calm it inspired. Anand had poured his heart and soul into the statue, but more than that, he had poured the wisdom of a lifetime. The villagers placed the statue in the center of the village, where it became a place of pilgrimage for people from all over the region. They would come, sit in silence, and meditate before the statue, allowing its presence to remind them of the power within their own minds. Anand, now an old man, often sat in meditation before the statue. He knew that his life, like the statue, was a reflection of the thoughts he had chosen to cultivate. He had mastered his mind, and in doing so, had shaped not only his destiny, but the destiny of those around him. As he sat in the quiet of the village square, watching the people come and go, he smiled softly, content in the knowledge that he had lived Buddha's teaching. The mind is everything. What you think, you become. Anand's journey from a struggling stonecutter to a master sculptor of both stone and life is a profound reflection of Buddha's teaching on the power of thought. His transformation was not a result of external changes, but an internal shift in his perspective and his mastery of the mind. By learning to control his thoughts, Anand shaped not only the material world around him, but the intangible realities of peace, wisdom, and fulfillment. This story reminds us that we are all sculptors of our own lives, and the raw material we work with is our thoughts. By choosing to cultivate positive, constructive thoughts, we can shape a life